I can't stop losing. Every deck counters me. There's nothing I can do to start winning. Well, there is something you can do. I've got 10 Marvel Snap tips here for you to get better at the game and win more. I'm Smlz. I'm a top Infinite player, and I have been for pretty much all of 2025, and let's get right into it. The first tip I have for you is to make better retreats. Now, what does making better retreats mean? It means that you should retreat in 4 main scenarios. 1 and 2 are pretty much the same. When you have no winning play, whether it be you just can't outpower your opponent's side of the board on turn 5, or you're just losing to a bad roll that happened on a turn before. You're not priced in to stay if the roll goes bad. You should just retreat for the minimum amount of cubes. The next time you should always retreat is when you heavily suspect your opponent has the tech card that beats you. So if they're playing in a way that makes it pretty indicative that they have a Juggernaut, or if they're running a lot of Shang-Chi support cards, or if they're running not a lot of ongoing, so they might run Enchantress. Those are telltale signs that they do have that tech card, and it is smart to retreat. Don't give them the cubes for running something that is very predictable in their deck. The last time that you should retreat is when the math advises you to. So there's a bit of cube math in Marvel Snap. When the stakes double, you need to be good at least 1 out of 4 times. An example of this is you're only losing to the card Silver Surfer in a normal game where each player draws 9 of their 12 cards. They are 25% to not draw their Silver Surfer, which fulfills the requirement. However, if you lose to something extra like Silver Surfer or Juggernaut Killmonger, if you lose to anything more than just Silver Surfer, you should retreat because you're not favored in at least 25%. You're favored below 25%, so it is a bad idea to stay. Another reason why this works is because if you retreat for 4 times, you're net losing -4 cubes. Whereas if you win 2 once and you lose 2 3 times, you're also net losing -4 cubes. It's the same thing. Now, if the stakes quadruple, you need to be good at least 3 out of 8 games. The math also checks out here. If you retreat for 1 8 times, it's -8. If you win 4 3 times and lose 4 5 times, it's -8. So this is more than a draw in the sense that if you're losing again to Juggernaut plus Killmonger and you think they might not have Killmonger or Surfer, you're probably priced in to stay when it goes from 2 to 8 unless they snapped, because if they're snapping, it conveys they have some information asymmetry. Maybe they just do have the play that beats you. You're really hesitant on there actually being 37.5% odds to stay when it becomes a quadrupling of the stakes, because your opponent is going to be snapping that because it's very indicative that they have a strong hand or a strong board. You should retreat there most of the time unless you're absolutely positive you have 3 out of 8 or better odds. But in general, you should know these are the absolute minimum required. If it ever dips below, you should always retreat. The second tip I have for you is to predict your opponent's plays. Now you might ask, how do I predict my opponent's plays? I can't see their play on their side of the board. Well, there's 3 main ways you can do this. First of all, by predicting their tech cards. So one of the ways you can do this is by seeing what supporting pieces to the tech cards they have. Are they running no ongoing cards? Maybe an Enchantress is present. Are they running stuff like Fenris Wolf? Maybe Shang. If they're playing in a way that makes it seem like a Juggernaut is coming, probably a Juggernaut is coming. So by sort of seeing how they're playing and what cards they're using, you can reasonably infer what tech cards they run in their deck. Next, where do you think their points are going to go? Do you think their points are going to go to the left lane, the middle lane, or the right lane? How do you think they're going to commit those points? What lane are they prepping to overcommit? Do they have something in the lane that makes you think they're going to throw it or overcommit it? There's a lot of mind games with that, but if you can successfully read your opponent, you can pretty much exactly predict where the power is going to be allocated. Third, how many points do they have? Let's say you have a 9 to 20 lead in the left lane, and they can only put up 10 points in that lane. You've won the lane. You don't need to commit any more power to it, so why should you? The maximum power they can achieve in a lane is 10, then you don't need to contest it. By mathing this out, you can predict where you should allocate your power and if you need to shore up the lanes you're winning, or if you're good to go all out for a second lane. The next tip I have for you is to snap early. Now, snapping early is better than snapping late for 3 main reasons. First of all, snowballing. When you snap before your game plan starts to snowball, as in you're getting a lot of points, maybe you put a Luna Snow on, do V-Hand Frigga the next turn, you're really high rolling there, you win twice the cubes. And you should always be winning twice the cubes on your best draws. Therefore, you should snap early on them. Next, stays. Players are much likelier to stay in on an early snap as they don't know your full game plan at the time. Third, bully snapping. Trying to force your opponent out of the game when something goes bad for them is a very powerful way. The only way you can truly win a 50-50 or hence a game here is by making your opponent retreat. That leaves you not open to variance and you secure the win. So, by bully snapping and trying to force your opponent out of games, you are securing more wins. And this is a very powerful thing to do. Say if Negasonic blows up a big target, or if Gladiator destroys their win condition. There's a lot of different ways that bully snapping can work, and it can be an immense boost to your cubes. Tip number 4, plan in advance. You should know what you're going to do on future turns when you play on prior turns. For this, I've got a bit of an interactive slide part here with a Victoria hand deck. So here is the Victoria hand deck's hand on turn 2. We've got Mirage, V-Hand, and the Hood playable with Muir Island and Noor Dimension as the locations. I'm going to give you a second to pause and try to figure out what the best play is on turn 2. The best play here is Victoria hand on the left. So there's two main reasons why Victoria hand left is better than Victoria hand mid. First of all, we're looking to copy this Victoria hand with Frigga. Second of all, we don't want to clog our hand. And by playing on Noor Dimension, we now have 6 cards in our hand, which if we copy it with Frigga the next turn, we now have 7 cards in our hand. And we're really struggling for board space. So, to get a copy of a buffed Victoria hand and to manage our hand space better, we want to play the Victoria hand left. Now, we're going to play Frigga this turn, but where should we play the Frigga? If you said play the Frigga in the middle, you are correct. Now we want the extra card because of what we're looking to do. Because we top deck the Luna Snow, playing Luna Snow and a Djinn could give us 3 energy extra on turn 5, putting us to 8 energy. Is that valuable? Should we play the Djinn now or should we save it for later? Now, what do we play on turn 4? Now this is a really tricky one to find, but if you said we're going to play the Hood and the Djinn on the right, followed by Luna left, you are correct. The reason we want to do all this is to get 8 energy on turn 5. So, what that gives us is that gives us the ability to play a 5-drop and a 3-drop next turn. The 5 and 3 we're going to be playing, Infinity Ultron and the Ancient One. Now, after playing both of those, we're going to have 7 energy on turn 6. And that allows us to play the Demon and then 3 out of 4 of V-Hand, 2 IU Stones, and a Tau Mandala. That's a crazy good turn 6, and it's a really good play line that you should always be looking out for in your games. Use the energy wisely and plan ahead. The next tip I have for you is to use information asymmetry. Now, what is information asymmetry in Marvel Snap? Well, it's pretty simple. It is hidden info. Information asymmetry is utilizing the information that you have that your opponent has no way of knowing. There's 3 cards that I think are really good examples of this. They're Copycat, Iron Patriot, and Hulkling. Let's start with Copycat. Copycat gives you a 3/5 that your opponent can't play around because it has every text in the game and the information that your opponent does not have a card. Copycat hits Cerebro, they're not drawing their power that game. You can snap that pretty easily. Other cards like Iron Patriot. Iron Patriot gives you a card that your opponent likely doesn't know and they can't predict at a likely discount. The discount part is important because it means you can more reasonably play that card and fit it into your curve. But Iron Patriot gives you a power ceiling that your opponent doesn't know. We talked earlier about how you might be only able to reach 10 power in a lane. Iron Patriot could generate you an 11 power card, get it a discount, and all of a sudden you can play that card and swing that lane when your opponent didn't think you could. So that card is very good as it makes it very hard for your opponent to predict your power output. Third is Hulkling. Hulkling gives you a very unpredictable 6-drop with likely upside. Some of the most game-swinging 6-drops in the game, Ultron, Doctor Doom, Gore, can all go on Hulkling. You can have a 6-12 that spawns 2 power bots at all the empty spots at the locations, or you could have a 6-30 card. Both of those are very powerful, especially when your opponent has no way of knowing you have them. The next tip I have for you is to identify your metagame. Now, you in Marvel Snap are going up against a multitude of opponents, but in most scenarios, you'll be able to identify a few decks in your given pocket meta, which is the decks that your opponents are primarily playing, that really seem to stick out, whether they be specifically bad matchups or you see them all the time. So, what you can do is you can tech against them. If you're seeing a lot of negative in your metagame, just tech in a Mobius or play a deck with Mobius. That's a very good way to instantly flip your matchup against negative. Next, if you're seeing a lot of Werewolf, maybe add in a Shadow King. Maybe go for Mercury Cannonball. There's a lot of strong counters to Werewolf by Night. And if he's very prevalent, then you're going to need a good way to stop him. Next, Tribunal. If you see a lot of Tribunal, Enchantress is a phenomenal answer. It always has been. And it's a great thing to slow down the Tribunal players. And if your Enchantress is unexpected, you might just win 8 cubes off of them. Next, tip number 7. Learn your play lines. This is extremely important. So, here's a Mr. Negative deck. Mr. Negative has 3 main play lines. Its first one, Mr. Negative. You're using Ravonna, you're playing negative, you're flipping the costs. Everybody knows the Mr. Negative playline and how it works. Your second playline is Double Gore. Whether you're using Magic or you're using Ravonna, your goal is to get a Gore and then a Mystique or a Taskmaster copying the Gore. Your third playline is Esme Cuckoo, relying on Esme's high rolls of Gore and Iron Man to use that and a Mystique copy to generate a ton of power. These playlines are ordered in sort of the way you should be playing them. Mr. Negative should always be your first priority, whereas Double Gore is your de facto backup and Esme is your high roll backup. Esme can be sort of a get out of jail free card if you really need it and you have no other outs. But when you're thinking about a deck, you should always keep the best playlines in mind and try to find a way to utilize them. In Victoria Hand, there's always like Victoria Hand Frigga. In Destroy, you're always looking for the Deadpool lines. There's a lot of playlines in your decks, and you should always keep in mind the best ones. Tip number 8 that I got for you is to manage priority. So, managing priority is as simple as identifying if your deck wants or does not want priority. So, 2 examples are Silver Surfer and Sarah Tech. Silver Surfer wants priority. It runs proactive tech cards like Cosmo and Juggernaut. So, it wants to be in the driver's seat of having priority to stop your opponent from interacting with you. Sarah Tech, on the other hand, does not want priority. It uses a lot of reactive tech cards like Shang-Chi, Enchantress, and Killmonger that do not want to have priority when they are played. The next tip I have for you is to identify win conditions. So this is as simple as identifying what cards win you the game in your deck. So we already talked about negative. Here's negative again. So the examples of the win conditions for negative are obviously negative. That card is how you win the games. It's what the deck is built around, flipping the cost. The other win conditions you have are Gore. Gore is massive in terms of the amount of points it outputs. So it gives you a lot of power, can be a very strong backup line, and it pretty much wins games for you when you otherwise can't. Maybe the Iron Man lane isn't big enough when it's flipped by negative. So Gore is a very good contender there. So we've identified 2 of the win conditions. The third is Iron Man. Just being able to double your power in a lane is incredibly powerful and a very strong effect. Order. The last tip I have for you is to order your cards. Ordering cards is extremely important in Marvel Snap. So I'm going to illustrate this to another Victoria Hand example. So I have a Quinjet and a Luna Snow on the field. So my created cards, even if I like Frigga them, if I Frigga a V-Hand, it costs 1. Esme cards cost 2. What's the best order that I can play my cards in hand over the next 2 turns, and what location should I play them at? Keep in mind that I have 5 energy. So I opt for Victoria hand left and Frigga right. The reasoning behind this is we're trying to set up a misery lane on the right, but the location of the Victoria hand doesn't matter as long as it's not in the middle. So turn 5 comes around. What should I do here? Now here's where the order matters. We need to play the hood first on the right. Then we can play the Victoria hand right or in the middle, and then we want a misery right. The reasoning behind this is because the Frigga, after it's triggered by misery, will now copy the Victoria hand instead of the hood, thus giving us another Victoria hand and not a hood, which is more power substantially. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to Snap Academy for more educational content like this, and let me know in the comments what other videos you'd like to see. Thank you to Xenaid also for helping out with this video. You can find him at twitch.tv/XenaidTFT. That's about it for me. Thank you for listening. I've been Smlz. You've been awesome, and see you around.